Hi there, everyone. Thank you for joining with me today for our daily Moravian Bible study. I really believe that, yes, it's incredibly powerful and transformative to spend time every day in God's Word. I believe that, but I believe it's even more powerful when we journey through God's Word together as a community. And today, together as a community, we are in Hebrews chapter 6, verse 13 to Hebrews 7, verse 3. Now, the section starts by talking about the certainty of God's promise. And it's referring primarily to the covenant promise, the binding agreement that God entered into with Abraham. When I was reading this, I found verse 17, it made me pause and think today when it said that God wanted to make the unchanging nature of his purpose very clear to the heirs of the promise, to us, the heirs. It made me think, how clear am I? How clear are we on the purpose and the promise of God? If I were to say to you, just pause this video for a moment and just jot down and summarize the promise of God, the purpose of God, I wonder what we would come up with and how easy we would find that to do that. Well, I had a little go of that in preparation for this video. This is how I put it. God's promise, his purpose is to have a people for himself. A people to be the object of his love and affection, a people on whom he could pour out his blessing, as we see in today's passage. And his purpose is that people would invite all people into the family, and in doing so, the whole of the earth would be filled with the knowledge of the glory of God, ready for the renewal of all things, a new heaven and earth. Well, God has made his purpose clear to us, and his promise is sure and certain. It is guaranteed. Now, in the natural sense, if you enter into a covenant agreement, you need witnesses. The vows have to be verified by someone with the right commission, with the right authority. Just take marriage as a covenant, for example. There has to be, legally, witnesses. There has to be someone with the power vested in them to pronounce the couple man and wife. That's how covenants and vows work. And here we read that because there was no one greater than God, then God, the Trinity, God the Father, Son and Spirit, play witness to this covenant vow, and they swear the oath on God's name, the highest name. So when God says covenantally, you are mine, you are part of my family, you are the object of my affection and blessing, you need to know that he means it. It's guaranteed. Now this idea then gets developed and proven, if you like, through the nature of God. We read of two unchangeable truths. The first truth is that it is impossible for God to lie. God is pure truth. God is the source of all truth. His word is utterly reliable. Now there might be a gap, a pause between the promise of his word and the fulfillment of his promise. In fact, there usually is. Abraham was promised to an heir. He was promised to be a great nation, the father of a nation, but he had to wait patiently, it says, for that promise. And the second unchangeable truth is that God gives hope. In the waiting, God gives us hope. Hope is more than wishful thinking. It's more than a positive mindset. Hope is the confident expectation based on solid certainty that God keeps his promises. It's a little bit like, imagine the kids waiting for Christmas. They can see the presents under the tree. The waiting can feel so slow and so long, but there is never any doubt that there is a present waiting for them, that something good is on its way. But there's the wait. And this hope, we read of this hope, it greatly encourages us. This hope is like an anchor that fixes us firmly and securely into the presence of God. In this gap between promise and fulfillment, in the waiting, when you're waiting for your breakthrough, actually it's tempting to drift away from God in the waiting. But it's in the gap, it's in the waiting that we are invited to be anchored into deeper union, deeper presence, through the curtain, into the holy place, into the intimacy where God's glory dwells. His presence transforms how we wait for the fulfillment of the promise. Now the passage goes on to talk about Melchizedek. I'm out of time, so I will pick up on Melchizedek in tomorrow's story. Have a blessed day.